There's another one you don't want to hear. Frankly, if it's alive.
1, 2, 3, set, go!
Hello and welcome to episode 122 of the Power Chord Hour podcast. We got the October 2022 rundown for you here, and as always, I'm your host, Anthony Merchant, welcoming you to another episode of the show. Second episode back since our break, and it has been insane. I've been saying it all day, and was saying it on the radio earlier when I was hosting a local rush hour on a good old 107.9 WRFA. I know I talk about it quite a bit. Like, I can't believe it, it's this far into the year, this or that. But like, I think those 6 weeks I was gone because I really didn't like pay attention to like the date. Like I kind of knew when it was because I knew I had 3 weeks to get back. But like, I paid zero attention to anything besides, okay, it's like Sunday. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I knew it was like Sunday, but I didn't know if it was like September 15th, September 29th, October 1st. Like, I really didn't know. And, once I get back, then that all changes because really I'm not and really it's good for me and I should probably have more of it, but like, I'm not someone who is totally great with like time management or, regimen or whatever. But, radio kind of forces you to, because booking guests and, just having to record things at certain times. I produce a couple shows now at WRFA where, I'm not the host. I just come in and record them and produce them and stuff. And, when you start kind of working at the, whim or whatever of like other people's schedules, like you got to kind of, like, I do keep a little like pocket calendar and a wall calendar and like write down like, this day I have an interview at this time. And, this day I'm going to go here and, kind of like I even try to plan stuff out a little more and go like, all right, well, if you want to go do something, go do it like Friday or go, whatever. But, so since getting back, I've obviously kind of had to pay attention to the calendar more, but Jesus Christ, I can't believe it's, October 30th. And I'm literally like, it's 11:23 as I record this on Halloween. So, we're at the end of October here. And, by the time you hear this, it shall be November. And my bad, I got a little busy this weekend. I try to get these monthly rundowns out a little earlier than like the first day of the next month. Ideally, I get out whatever month rundown a few days before the end of the month. But hey, what can you do? I've still been really busy playing catch up with everything. And I won't spend this episode. Last episode back, it was also a solo one. And it's like an hour and 10 minutes of me talking about my trip and everything. So, I won't get into all that in the October rundown. This is more about music and stuff. But again, either way, my God, I can't believe we're at the end of October going into November here. And 2022 almost at the end here. Almost at the end. But yeah, I like I said, I've been kind of busy lately, and a big one getting a guest book. Obviously his first two episodes back, me being solo. But I gotta say, I have some I have a few more lined up too coming up, but I have two in the next few days, which I'm very excited for. And I normally don't like talking about them until they've happened, but I have confirmed them. I know that I, like what time and day I'm talking to both of them and everything. So I feel like it's less jinxing of it. But Black Dahlia of the Dwarves and Greg Graffin of Bad Religion, I'm talking to both of them this week. And I cannot be more stoked. Talk about a strong return to us having guests and doing interviews and stuff for the show. I can't believe it. I'm pretty damn excited for both of those. Definitely a big fan of both. I've been, Greg Graffin actually has he has a new book coming out, a memoir, Punk Paradox, and I've gotten a chance to read a little bit of it, and I'm going to read some more before Thursday when I interview him. But it's really good so far, and it's funny because like I was thinking about it, and I've been listening to Bad Religion since around high school, and that now I say that because that's when I started like buying their albums and listening to them further. But I did love like Los Angeles is Burning and a couple other songs when they used to play them on Fuse like way back in the day when I was like in middle school. But like I knew who they were, and I liked. It's kind of like with like Alkaline Trio and some other bands. Millen Collins, another one comes to mind, where like these bands who in middle school, I was familiar with them because, again, watching Fuse or like even like a Warped Tour comp or something like that. But it wasn't until high school where I started going, hey, like, I like that song, Stupid Kid. I should go listen to the rest of like From Here to Infirmary, like things like that. So Bad Religion's one of them. But, on top of, listening to Greg Graffin's music since high school, I've also been reading his books since high school. So I'm very excited. It's cool too, because I mean, normally, he has some kind of, he's written quite a few books, but, they do tackle like, religion and science and different things. But I mean, he still will interject. Like, that's what I like is, and I can't think of the first one I read. I remember I was in 12th grade was the first one I read, or that's not the name of the book, but that was the first time I read Greg Graffin's books. And I can't remember which one it was, but it was really good because like he was getting into like science and just, I don't know, a bunch of different things that Greg Graffin talks about. But, within it, he also did talk about like, punk rock in like the 80s and his youth and a couple different things. So it was like, it worked. Like he integrated it with the things he was talking about in the book. And, I feel like he's really good at that. But this one is a memoir, like just straight up like talking about his life before Bad Religion and in Bad Religion. And, the millions of other things that he's done. I mean, that man has done quite a bit. So I have a lot to talk about. Same with Black Dahlia, though. I mean, he just put out under the name Ralph Champagne. He just put out a new album, and I know he just put out a book. And the Dwarves, I believe, are doing a bunch of reissues, and like both of them have quite a bit. Which, as someone interviewing somebody, the more you have, the better. Like that is, and it doesn't matter who you're talking to. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Both of those dudes have been at it so long, and there's a million things I could talk to them about. But it's always nice the more stuff you have going on then, because it's at least something to, talk about, at least in the beginning. I mean, again, the conversation can go everywhere and anywhere, but, I don't know. I always feel like it's better the more you got going on. Plus, I'm a fan, so it's like, I'm happy to see them both being busy. But I have them booked, and I have a few more booked too, which really... Actually, I won't give out everybody, but really I think I should have all my guests for November. So we should have a guest for you every week this upcoming month, or I say upcoming month, you're listening to this in November, because there's no way, it's 11:30 right now, and there's no way I'm done in the next 30 minutes. You'll definitely be hearing this earliest, early November 1st. Early November, there you go. I can't remember what day they're playing. Speaking of which, the early November playing around here up in Buffalo sometime in November, and I got looking at up in Mohawk Place, and I believe I'll be at that show. I'm pretty excited. I haven't been to a concert here in a hot minute, and would love to. There's a couple really good ones coming up, and the Lemonheads, that is another one in November. They're playing up at the Grog Shop in Cleveland. And I'm stoked because the Lemonheads are playing a few places around here, but the Grog Shop is, I mean, one of my favorite venues and also one of the most intimate. Like, Grog Shop, I think, holds something like 800 people, and, the Lemonheads are playing like theaters, the other places around here. Plus, Juliana Hatfield will, I don't think she's playing the entire tour, but I know she'll be on the Cleveland date, and they're doing It's a Shame About Ray front to back, and I'm pretty stoked to hear, I mean, her, she's kind of like Matt Sharp in that way, with kind of like with Weezer, where it's like her, her harmonies and backing vocals and that bass playing, like, I don't think get enough credit, which, for what makes so great, the albums that she was on, the, It's a Shame About Ray and Come Feel the Lemonheads, kind of the same thing with Blue Album and Pinkerton. It's like, you don't give enough credit to that bass player, but I mean, my God, like they're adding quite a bit to this. So I'm excited. I saw the Lemonheads once a few years ago at First Avenue in Minneapolis with Tommy Stinson opening, but to see them with, because I think they were a trio on that record as well. So I mean, I don't know who played drums off the top of my head on It's a Shame About Ray, but really that's just about the It's a Shame About Ray lineup. So I'm excited to see Evan and Juliana up there on stage in quite an intimate place. I mean, there's no whatever you call it, the divider or whatever in between the stage and the crowd, no barricade or anything like that. Normally like one security dude there, and it's going to be a good time. I mean, I'm sure that's not like a heavy moshing crowd or anything like that. It shouldn't be anything too wild, but I'm still very, very excited for that. And I'm also excited Alistair is coming back around here. They played, I talked to Tim Rogner back in the summer, and one of the things we talked about, they're doing 4-Chord Fest in Pittsburgh, and they did that in September, and I don't think they got to play Last Stop Suburbia all the way through. I think they had time to play most of it, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm pretty sure if you go back and listen to the interview, he says it in there. But I don't think I'm making that up. I don't think they had enough time in their slot to play the entire record, which, I mean, they're fast punk songs, but still, there's like 17 songs on that album. So there's quite a bit to get to. But now they're doing like a 3-date run on the East Coast here in December, and they're playing, speaking of Cleveland again, they're playing up in Cleveland and Pittsburgh. And I'll definitely be at least one of those. I may try to make it to both. And they're playing Last Stop Suburbia front to back. And I'm very excited for that. Plus, Eternal Boy is opening. And there's another band opening too. And off the top of my head, I cannot remember who it is. But Eternal Boy is a pretty solid pop punk band from Pittsburgh. And I've been listening to them since they were called the Space Pimps back in the day. They're one of those bands who kind of like Punchline, where like I feel like they've just toured and played their asses off. Like if you went to shows within like the Western New York, Northeast Pennsylvania kind of area, you know, like in the early 2000s or whatever, like you probably saw them, you know, they're kind of like bands like that. So pretty cool. I'm definitely excited for those shows, including because I missed Alistair. Again, I was going to Alaska, so I totally missed them. And there are a couple bands I missed. I mean, Midtown being another, not that they played anywhere really near me, but just, you know, not really financially being able to pull going to see Midtown anywhere, or you know, also having the time either going to Alaska. But I would love to see, which I don't know. It seems like the shows have been going really well. I wouldn't be terribly surprised if they start kind of doing more. You know, also really cool to see our buddies in Hidden in Plain View have announced some shows on the East Coast in early 2023. I think in January they have like 5 or 6 shows lined up. And, you know, I love seeing that. You know what I mean? I love seeing all these bands within the scene and stuff from, you know, the early 2000s kind of, you know, area and stuff. Kind of our forte here on the show. And, you know, see them like playing, not only just playing shows and being active, but also that there's a, you know, like positive feedback and people are into it. You know, it seems like they're kind of welcomed back with open arms. So always happy to see that, including, you know, friends of the show like that. But yeah, it seemed, you know, same with like the When We Were Young Fest. I mean, that seemed like that went over pretty well, minus I think it was rain or a windstorm or something that kind of fucked up the first day. But it seemed like a lot of bands, I know like Hawthorne Heights and stuff, kind of came together and did some neat stuff. But I mean, besides that, it seemed like it went really well. And already looking at the lineup for next year too. I mean, it looks like there's a bunch of more bands from, you know, said scene that I'm talking about reuniting for that. It seems like it's a good time for it. You know, it seems like people are paying attention and are coming to the shows, and you know, you have something like When We Were Young Fest. And I don't know, maybe people my age are just now getting to an age where they got some disposable income now, and will come out to the shows and buy the vinyl repressing of whatever album is turning 20, you know, said year. But I'm for it. I'm into it. So yeah, definitely excited for that. I mean, look at, you know, I'm not talking mad shit. I was just talking about I'm excited to see Lemonheads play. It's a shame about Ray in November, and then see Alistair play Last Stop Suburbia in December. I'm definitely excited for both of those. I don't know which one I'm more excited for. Alistair I haven't seen since, oh goddamn, 2014. Yeah, so I mean, it's been Lemonheads I saw in 2019. Alistair, it's been like 8 years now. So I don't know, maybe I'm siding more on Alistair, but again, Juliana Hatfield, that doesn't happen every day. So I don't know. That's a real tough one there. That's a real conundrum. You know, I think I talked about it on the last episode too, but like when I was stuck in Sacramento, when my car got hit and everything, John Doe was like playing up the road, but like I was so broke, and it was just, you know, financially not really in the cards to like go, but it was just like hurt knowing he was like 90 minutes away, and it was like, oh my God, like if only, you know, but gas, tickets, you know, and then I had to start thinking, you know, do I stay up there? Do I come back? Because he was playing 2 nights too, so I was also thinking about that. I'm like, I kind of want to go both nights, but if I do, is it cheaper to drive back to you know, 90 minutes down to Sacramento, or do I just find a cheap shitty hotel up there? You know, all these different things. I ended up not going, which you know, probably not the worst idea. Again, I'm pretty damn broke from the accident and the trip and everything. But, you know, made me sad. So I'm happy that there's some good shows coming up to kind of redeem that. I definitely need to fit in a couple more concerts. before the end of 2022. And I don't know for 2023. I guess I haven't, besides that when we were Young Fest, the next one, which is like a year away, I really haven't looked too much on like who's touring like early 2023, but I don't want to jump to that far ahead. Let's enjoy, I guess, the last 2 months of 2022. Been a good year for music, I would say overall. I've everything's been pretty damn good, but really the beginning of this decade has been solid for music. 2020, 2021, and 2022, for as shitty as everything else has been, music I feel like has consistently been pretty good the last couple years. And there White Reaper, which I'll play you something later, but I mean they're one who come to mind for like music for next year too, where I'm like, it seems like it's going to keep going. It already seems like there's some bands releasing some really good records like early next year, so I'm definitely all about that. I know I didn't talk about it much on the last episode, and I said I would talk about it on this one. One aspect of my trip that I didn't get into, though, speaking of like new music, but like, again, like I went so many places on my trip, including like Canada and Alaska, where I was getting no phone reception or anything, and you just kind of listen to what was on your phone. So like I was listening to a lot of the same, not even in a bad way, but it's like it really makes you kind of married to certain things. Like once Tom got the whole announcement with Blink, I found myself listening to a lot of like Dude Ranch, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, Enema of the State. Same with Green Day, which it's funny because both these I'll talk more about in the news, in music news later on. But same with like Green Day, like they announced the Nimrod box set coming out, and started listening to Nimrod quite a bit. And same with Insomniac though too, kind of like a 50-50 in between those, jumping back and forth. And then like once, like I went and hung out with my buddy Greg Eklund from Everclear, so I listened to a lot of like Sparkle and Fade and So Much for the Afterglow. I'm saying my buddy Ben Pearlstein, so the Benjamins, his old band, which I love so much, one of my favorite drive-through records bands, listening to The Art of Disappointment quite a bit. And who else did I listen to? I did talk about it last time, CDs, because I picked up Fastball's latest one, the Deep End, and really, really good. I listened to that a ton on the trip. That CD was in the CD player. I literally too, like not like the metaphorical CD player. That was definitely in the CD player for a good chunk of that trip. Just some damn good power pop. And then some of the old school stuff, some Don McLean and Bob Dylan, some favorite singer-songwriter stuff. And Near Beer, I did listen, fairly recent guest of the show, Joey from the band Near Beer, really good dude. And I found myself listening to that record, their self-titled debut, quite a bit. And same with the Dirty Nil. Well, not their self-titled debut, but another former guest of the show, Luke Bentham. I found myself listening to a lot of the Dirty Nil. But honestly, I listen to a lot of the Dirty Nil most of the time. They're normally in fairly, I'd say they're in fairly constant rotation. Like they're always something that I will throw on. If I don't know what to listen to, I feel like like Master Volume or something will get thrown on pretty much instantly. And I did listen to the Stereo. I mean their latest record 13 still in quite a bit of rotation. I found myself listening to that one quite a bit, and I feel I like it too, because it's one of those albums where even if you don't want to listen to it front to back, like if you're in a upbeat mood, there's upbeat songs. If you're kind of in a downer mood, there's some downer songs. Like there's mid-tempo stuff, there's fast, fun stuff, there's ballads. There's a little bit of everything on that. So it was kind of nice. It was like whatever I was feeling, on certain parts of the trip. It's like, hey, I got the Stereo record here to throw on. So a lot of that, and Dramarama too. I just kind of wrote down a list here of like, off the top of my head, like artists I listened to a ton on that trip. And Dramarama was another one. Color TV, which a few years old, but like I was just talking about, all the good music's come out this decade. Them putting that out in 2020 and it being, in my opinion, one of the greatest records of their career. I mean, a band who's been around since like 1978, 79, I believe they started. So I had a lot of I had a lot of artists I feel like I was listening to, but I stayed within that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I just named like 10, I think I just named like 10 bands, artists, but like I listened to a lot of them. Like I'm not a super big podcast guy. I've said that before on here, but like I will listen to them from time to time, but it's not. I just do them so much, and I do interviews and just whatever. I also work in radio. Like I'm doing radio probably every day at least for. I mean, it could even just be something simple. Like I could just go and do radio for like 2 hours one day, but like most days I'm doing some kind of talking into a mic or editing, audio or something. So like, podcasts and spoken, just dialogue and stuff like that. I don't always jump to right away, but I will actually, though, I will say as I'm saying that, two podcasts I did listen to, really like probably like two of the only podcasts I really listened to on that trip though. Jughead, his podcast, Jughead's Basement, and Talking Records, my buddy Jed, his podcast, which I've listened to in the past, but like I don't listen to it consistently because again, it's not even anything towards that. It has a really damn good podcast. I don't listen to podcasts like on a consistent basis in that way. So I had a lot to catch up to with or catch up on some of his episodes, and that was really fun. And that also kind of got like I said, like the Nimrod box set being one where like when that got announced, I started listening to it more. But then he had an episode on Nimrod, and listening to that also made me like, oh fuck, I really do like this record, and going back and listening to that a lot more. And same with Jughead. I mean, he not to make this podcast a spot, a plug for other people's podcasts, but he just did a whole little like series on the Smoking Popes dissecting their Born to Quit record and talking to everybody in the band and stuff, doing really extensive interviews, and that was really fun. He's a solid interviewer. I mean, really, like he could be. There's so many musicians who start a podcast and they're just not very good at it. They just kind of lean on the whole, hey, I'm so and so from this band, but he's legitimately a good interviewer. And I mean, very very early, we have no like set concrete plans, but I do think him and I are gonna kind of, I don't know, talking about doing something more in the future, and I'm excited for that. I definitely want to have him on the show more. I love, that is the cool thing I think about doing the show now for 6 years, is being able to have like returning guests. And, if you even want to say regulars, I mean, I feel like Joey Cobra's, my buddy Kyle Steven, like people like that who, kind of, I would say fairly regulars at least, which, Kyle, funny enough though, Kyle hasn't been on in a while, for no real reason. I'm just busy. It's one of those things too, where it's like, I mean, this is, if anybody thinks this is like a, $1 million podcast or I'm swimming in the big bucks off this one, definitely sadly not the truth of the Power Chord Hour. So it's like, it's basically me asking friends, in a case like with Kyle, where it's like, hey dude, you want to like give up your entire evening to like, talk about pop punk with me for like 4 hours? Cause we can't, listen, the episode might be, you can ask Joey Cobra this as well, and he might even get it worse because I get him in the WRFA studios and would just sit there, and it's like the episode might be 90 minutes, but we probably talked for 3 or 4 hours. There was one, I don't remember what episode it was, but it was me, Kyle, and Zach were doing it, and the three of us talked forever, but then Zach had to get off the phone because he had like work in the morning, and me and Kyle kept going and talking. This is far from off air. Or, this is long after being off air. Like we did maybe a 90-minute, maybe 2-hour episode. Me and him, when we got off the phone, we're on the phone over 4 fucking hours, 5 hours altogether. I mean, from the beginning, from us just bullshitting before recording, to then recording the episode, to then talking after the episode, to me then driving to Pennsylvania to get a sandwich from Sheetz because it was midnight and nothing was open around me. Like the conversation just kept going, which I love it. But again, it's like, you can't ask people to do that all the time. So we'll definitely, definitely have some more Kyle and Joey as well. Got to have him on again. But we had him on back in like, I think August. So, I mean, it's only been like a couple months, but anyway, I was getting to a second ago though, about like regulars and having people on and, repeat guests and stuff. I really enjoy doing that. I really like kind of, cause it also gives you a chance, I think, to really get to know someone too. I have no, delusions that like, talking to someone for 30 minutes means that, I know them inside and out and know them so well, and they're now my close personal friend, nothing like that. But it is nice when you start bullshitting with people and having them on a couple times, because you just start, you can just have kind of normal conversations, and it's like, even though you're still like, oh my God, you're so and so, it's like, you're a little more chill about it. You've talked to him a couple times. It's cool in that way. I mean, that probably helped when I went to go hang out with Greg Eklund, that he's been on the show a couple times and we've talked on the phone for hours, because if I just went and hung out with him and never like met him before, it's just like, oh my God, this guy who's played on all these records I love, like, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have been as chill as I was, I think it helps. So what I'm saying is, the more we have people on, the more chill I am with them. So I welcome it. I love repeat guests, but I would also love to know from you. I did want to ask, and I mean, it could be a repeat guest, be someone we've never had on the show, but as I do keep getting interviews around, who would you like to hear on the show? That's always important. And on top of that too, I know it's not the radio show, but a lot of people who listen to the podcast also listen to the radio show, and I'd love if you listen to it. Maybe if you've never checked it out. I mean, I try to let people know it's a 4-hour radio show, and it's me spinning music and talking and stuff. And, not that it's totally different from this, but it is different. It's not me re-airing the podcast. So, I mean, if you like what you hear on this, I think you really would enjoy the radio show. So I do try to entice people to listen to that. But, I would love to know who I should interview and what songs and like music I should spin on the radio show, even if not specific songs, like what bands and stuff you'd like to hear. And, as always, you can tell me that, powerchordhour@gmail.com. You can hit me up on our social media, whatever, just let me know. And, that stuff is definitely important to me, because I appreciate people who, people listen to the show and support the show. And I want to make sure that, I'm playing the good stuff or having guests on that you like. So, including, because really, I mean, if you listen to this, we probably have similar tastes in music and stuff anyway. So, people who you would like to hear on the show or music you'd like to hear me play, probably not totally different from what I'd want to play anyway. So, always welcoming to hear from people and get your feedback on that. So let me know all that good stuff. And it's kind of funny too. I was just thinking about it. I mean, I am recording this. It is still Halloween for 10 minutes here, but in a way, this is I'm recording on Halloween, but it's really not a Halloween episode. But we did do last Friday. That was our Halloween episode of the radio show, and that was pretty fun. That we did have some technical difficulties, which fucked the show up a couple times, but we still had 4 hours of punk and alternative Halloween music, which it was insane to compile. That is the one thing with doing a 4-hour radio show, is even me talking and stuff. You're still looking at like 60 plus songs normally. Like I average about 60 songs per episode if I don't have guests or something on. If it's just a straight up music and me talking solo episode of the radio show, I mean, easily 60 songs at the bare minimum. And for something like that, you got to really find the songs, you know what I mean? I have staples that I play every year, but you also try to mix it up, try to find out, like Halloween songs that came out this year and stuff. And again, under I'm not just playing like Halloween standards. I'm playing what you would expect on the Power Chord Hour. They're just Halloween songs, just a little more gothy than normal. But it's a challenge, but it's a fun challenge. And this one was really, it's one of those things like I kind of forget every year, and then it comes around to including this time of the year, because we do the Halloween special, and then I mean, hell, in another, it's not even 2 months really, like close to like month and a half or whatever, I'll be doing the Christmas episode, and then like a week after that, I'll be doing my episode where I'll play all songs from obviously this year, but whatever year it is, doing like my top 10 of the year and stuff. And like doing those specialty ones, but they are fun, because at first you're like, oh my God, I got to think of like all these Halloween songs and this and that, but it's like, it is fun. And then you start doing it too, and you get on air, and the energy of it, it sounds cheesy, but definitely kind of the energy of like, oh, it is my, Halloween special episode. It's not just, same old radio show this week. It does become quite fun. Plus I go nuts with the Misfits, which you have to. I mean, we do Fiend Club Friday, which I didn't really get to do this year since I was gone, but where, I play a Misfit song or songs, sometimes I'll play more than one each Friday leading up. And then, the Halloween episode is essentially a bunch of Misfit songs. And then, some other bands. And actually, this might have been the first year. I don't know that I played any Misfits covers. A lot of times I will play other bands covering the Misfits. There's like that Violent World comp. And I mean, on top of, how many punk bands have covered punk and non-punk bands have covered the Misfits. I mean, talking Lemonheads earlier, one of the best covers they've ever done is the Misfits Skulls. Brilliant cover there. But I don't think I played any this year, but mainly because I played Static Age and Walk Among Us front to back in the third and fourth hour. And and that's the funny thing actually about the hour. And I think I might have even said, like, if you look on like an Instagram post or something, I originally was going to do, okay, we'll play Static Age front to back in the first hour and then Walk Among Us in the third. But I was talking about this on the radio show. There's this thing called Safe Harbor Act. And, basically after 10 p.m. on radio and TV and stuff, you can kind of get away with more. It's kind of implied that, kids aren't watching or listening, and you can be a little more adult about things. And originally, again, I was going to play, Walk Among Us, I was going to play third hour, but Static Age, I was going to open up the show with at 8 o'clock. And, I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, I could do that, but there's going to be a lot of editing in these songs and having to censor things. So I'm just like, I feel like we're better off just playing that stuff, straight through unedited later on in the night. So I did hold off until later. So I didn't have to start cutting the hell out of all those songs on Static Age and just, make it, you're like listening to it, just keep, silencing in moments where some cursing or, some unsultry subject matter, which there is quite a bit of on Static Age. It's one of those funny things too, because you can listen to a Misfits song and for the most part go like, oh, okay, you can pick up that it's like, about zombies or about murder or this or that, but it's like, it's not really till you sit down with the lyric sheet and really read the lyrics and take it in and go like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, but again, at the same time though, I feel like that also is the brilliance of the Misfits, including that Danzig era stuff where like, it's this fast like punk and a lot of, even I think the best stuff, which have kind of the Ramones chord progressions or even just the rock and roll chord progressions like 1-4-5 and like just major chords and stuff, and it's like, pretty fast major chords, somewhat happy sounding music with just the most fucked up lyrics over it. But I mean, you also have to give Danzig this credit, because at the same time, as ridiculous and over the top those lyrics are, a lot of times he really rode that line of them either being way too like, try hard and they're just terrible like all together and they just don't work. And then the other side of it being just cheesy to the point of you laughing. He normally finds that sweet spot in the middle where, it's either not too over the top. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is over the top, but it's not like, oh, you sound like a 14-year-old trying to be edgy versus, the other way too, where you listen to one of the songs, you just laugh your ass off because of how ridiculous and over the top those lyrics are. I feel like he toes that line pretty damn well. And, it's that time of year and any excuse to play a bunch of Misfits. So that's what I did on the Halloween special. But yeah, funny enough, this was our 6th one. And I think the first one I didn't play any Misfits covers. Unless I'm forgetting one in there, I don't think we did any covers. Because I played so much Misfits, there was no need. You heard all the like quintessential Misfits in just those 2 records that it's like, why am I going to play that song again with another band, doing a most of them are good covers, but I don't really know that any of them, beat out the original versions by the Misfits. So it's like, I don't think I'm going to do that. But it was fun, and it definitely, again, like a reminder of, my God, where we are in the year that I'm already doing the Halloween special of the show. But yeah, it's come and gone. Bring on the 7th annual one next year. But yeah, ironically, that was our Halloween special Friday night, and now I'm recording this one on Halloween, but really nothing too Halloweenish about it, I would say. But yeah, so that's what I got for you. We're gonna get into some new music releases. I'll play you some music. We'll get into some music news, and that will be our October rundown. But yeah, like I was saying earlier though too, some good stuff coming out this month. Jimmy Eat World put out a great new single, Place Your Debts. It's that like mid-tempo, moody, kind of sad, ballady a little, dare I say, Jimmy Eat World, and it's just what they do best. They build, there's an ambiance around the song, and it's just more than just, like a straightforward 3-minute like pop rock song. and they just do it so well. I think they've really, I don't know, last couple records too, including on Integrity Blues even more than Survival, but like they kind of channeled things that I think really make Futures one of people's favorite Jimmy Eat World records. Now, it's not my favorite. I do love Futures is a great record. I'm not saying it's not great, but I think Clarity is the best fucking record. But I think they figured out like elements of Futures that people love about that album, but not like rehashing it. Like, you know what I mean? Like it does, none of it sounds like, oh, this could be a B-side to Futures. It's just they really kind of channeled whatever they did on that record that they did really well, and they were able to channel it again, if that makes sense. You know, again, without trying to just recreate that album or rehash those songs. And yeah, this new single really good. I mean, they did that Something's Loud maybe like 2 months ago or so, and that one was good too. But I think this one is, as far as these singles, I think is the superior one. And I don't know if this is leading to a new record or not, but I mean, it's been long enough since Survival came out that I would think at this point the band's thinking about putting out another record. So I wouldn't be too surprised about that. White Reaper put out a new single, Pages, which I will play you here in a minute, and a new single off their record coming out this January. And I'm so excited for it. This song got me, I was already pretty much anticipating new music from them, but they did not disappoint with this one. The production is slick, sounds great. I really like the music video they just put out for Pages. So if you're a fan and you've not, well, you'll hear it here in a second, but music video is worth going and watching too. I definitely enjoy it. Another band putting out their first record since, oh my God, I believe 1998. 1999, somewhere in there. Archers of Loaf back with a new one, Reason and Decline. Really good stuff. I mean, they put out some of those singles the last couple years were really good. Like Raleigh Days, I really fucking love that song. And, you know, all the other songs are really good too. That one, though, stands out where I'm like, that was just a classic, like, Archers of Loaf song. But a new record sounds really good. I highly recommend it if you've not listened to it yet. I mean, if you're an Archers of Loaf fan, I don't think it's gonna disappoint in any way. And if you're not an Archers of Loaf fan, that's just insane. And you should listen to that record because you should probably be listening to Archers of Loaf. I mean, if you listen to the show, you should be listening to Archers of Loaf, folks. And New Junk City have a new record out, Beg a Promise. Sweet Teeth put out their new one, High Anxiety. Our buddies in Golden Richards put out a new single called Will I Be Cool. Night Marathons just put out, I think like a week ago, their new album, Hidden Vigorish. 10-Foot Pole put out Winning. The new band Mutt, which have a few ex-members of Culture Abuse, they just put out a new record, Bad to the Bone. Story of the Year put out a new single, Tear Me to Pieces, and they'll have a new, I believe their new album comes out in January as well, and I'm looking forward to that one. Blink-182 just put out their first new song with Tom DeLonge called Edging, which, I mean, I feel like everyone's probably heard it at this point, but still, I'm going to play it for you in a minute, and we'll talk more about that in the Blink, the Tom reunion here in the music news. And Sparta put out a new album, self-titled, and I always like that when a band puts out a self-titled later on, you know, because I always feel like it's something you do in the debut. But when a band does it later on, I'm like, oh shit, what is it like? Like, I normally feel like there's a reason to do a self-titled later on. I guess that, or you just can't think of a, maybe I'm putting too much weight in that. Maybe you just can't think of a song or of an album title, so then you just go self-titled. Like I was talking about earlier, Blake Dahlia just put out a new one, introducing Ralph Champagne, and I'll be talking to him in a couple days, and we should have that interview for you on the Power Chord Hour probably like 2 weeks from now. So be on the lookout for that. I'll be talking to Blake all about Ralph Champagne and all the other stuff he has going on. He's staying quite busy lately. The Early November, talking about them earlier, they just put out a new record, 20, and they're on tour right now. So if you're a fan of the Early November, I would definitely look up tour dates because they're playing quite a few and more than likely going to be around you. Bayside put out the Red EP. The band Pup just put out a live record, Pup Unravels, live in front of everyone they know. Lovebreakers put out a new single, Isolation Summer, off their upcoming new record, which I'm excited for. More really anticipated music of 2023. I cannot wait for new Lovebreakers. The guitar tone on Isolation Summer is unreal. And also, they just put out a great cover of the Go-Go's Vacation, a song which I've never understood why more punk bands don't cover. It should be, now, I don't know, now I'm going to jinx it and people are going to play it to hell and then I'm going to hate it, but like, That song's so good and is already kind of a, I mean, the Go-Go's kind of dabble within, punk to a point. They definitely, they dabble within it. I play them on the show and stuff from time to time. And, it's already kind of within that realm. And I just can't believe more pop punk bands don't do that song. But Lovebreakers did a solid, Jack did a really good acoustic cover of it, and well worth your time. It's on their YouTube page. I don't know if they released it as a single or anything like that. You might have to go listen to it on YouTube. I don't know if it's on Spotify or anything, but definitely worth your time, as well as Isolation Summer. And I'm excited for that new record. We definitely got to have those dudes back on to talk their sophomore record, because I think they're about to release. I think this one might even be better than their debut record, and that thing was pretty damn good. Primary Colors, if you have not listened to that one of my favorites of 2021. And another new one, Hawthorne Heights, came out with their new single Dandelions. I really like this one. Definitely has that like classic Hawthorne Heights sound to it, which I definitely enjoy, but still sounds fresh. I stand by that. I mean, people, and myself included, love those early records, but like they keep getting better. Like really, like I feel like nostalgia is like the number one reason why a lot of people think like Silence in Black and White and If Only You Were Lonely is like their best stuff. Because I'm like, I don't think so. I think they're really, they've hit a really good groove. I think they all write really well. I think Mark, his songwriting on the last few records, I think has really helped. And I think just them all writing together too, they've just grown a bond with how they do it and stuff. And I don't know. I think they're writing their best stuff the last couple of records. And I'm still partial to the Hate, Hope, and Hurt EP trilogy. Those are pretty damn good. Some of my favorite Hawthorne Heights songs are on those. But I thought I'd play this one for you to open up the new releases. So right now, here's Hawthorne Heights with their new single Dandelions, right here on the October 2022 rundown of the Power Chord Hour podcast. Right here on the October 2022 rundown of the Power Chord Hour podcast, off one of my most anticipated records of 2023. There was White Reaper with their first single off of it. That was Pages. Before that was Blink-182 with their first song with Tom DeLonge since 2012's Dogs Eating Dogs EP. And there they are with Edging, which, again, you've probably heard that one since it came out like 2 weeks ago. But, I'm going to play it. I'm excited for Blink. We'll get to that here in a second. And opening up that block of music was Hawthorne Heights with their new single, Dandelions. And they're another one. I don't know if they have a new record coming out right away or not. I believe they do. I think they were kind of teasing it, but probably another one for 2023. So you can also throw that on there. Definitely anticipating that. Their last record, The Rain Just Follows Me, was a really, really good one. I enjoyed that. So definitely looking forward to the next one. But getting into music news, let's talk Blink-182 a little bit. Unless you've been living under a rock, this music news I get to way fucking late, but it's just kind of fun to talk about. But Tom DeLonge back in Blink-182 back on October 14th. They released their first single back called Edging, and announced they have an upcoming tour with Turnstile, The Story So Far, and Rise Against, and Wallows all opening, doing a big old like world tour, and that's next year. Along with, they did announce a new album. Don't believe they announced a date yet. There's no songs, other song titles or songs announced or the name of the album or anything like that. But there is an album coming, and the big one too. Just a huge tour. They'll be hitting South America, then coming back up to North America and up into Canada. But tons and tons of places. I know they'll be playing Toronto, Pittsburgh, New York City, Los Angeles, San Diego, Baltimore, Brooklyn, Houston, Atlanta, Glasgow, Scotland, Dublin, Ireland. They'll be over in Hamburg, Germany, London, England. It goes on, and possibly, I think, even I was going to say into 2024 as well. I'm looking at all the dates, and I'm like, I could have swore it also went into 2024. So, they're like back and ready to go. It seems like they're jumping right in, which is so different from the last reunion when, to be fair, the last reunion, they were broken up for, however many years, I think like 4 or 5 years before they reunited in 2009. Whereas this time, they reunited with Tom, but they were still a band during that time. But still, when you think of that 2009 reunion, there was so much. I mean, I remember like yelling for Up All Night when I went to see him in 2009, and they didn't release Up All Night until 2011. And there's so much time in between before they put out new music. And they toured a decent amount when they first got back together, but definitely have those moments of inactiveness while they all Mark, Tom, and Travis all kind of went and did other stuff. But it seems like this one, I mean, they're fully committing to it, and I'm excited. I mean, Edging, it's not a bad song. I mean, do I think it's the greatest Blink-182 song of all time? Absolutely not. But for a single and for Blink, it's like I think it's a good return. It does make sense why, and it also seems to be doing really well. It seems to be charting really high, like on rock radio and stuff. So not a bad thing at all. And which, I mean, also, they've been around, and I've kind of talked about it with Blink, in some of my criticisms, even with like, the whether or not, being comfortable of like, are we now a nostalgia act or this or that, but to still have radio hits and staying relevant and stuff like that. It seems like they could continue to pump out some good stuff, and that's with radio or not. I mean, really, even like with Neighborhoods, for as much as I thought people were excited for Blink, if you look back at that, they definitely, like Up All Night and stuff was a single, and After Midnight and stuff, but not which part of it too. I mean, I think Interscope wasn't pushing, I've heard that quite a bit, like including, most stuff at that time, major labels were definitely hurting, but I think also the rock department at like Interscope, I swear I remember them talking about it was almost non-existent, and not a lot of like pushing or promoting of the albums. But I was always kind of surprised that one didn't have more of a push back then, whereas this one seems like they're going all for it. Like people seem to be all about it, which again, I'm right there. I mean, if you've listened to this podcast, you've heard me talk about this a million times over. I mean, I love Alkaline Trio. I hated Blink-182 with Matt Skiba in it. The songs were not good. The music was not good. John Feldman, while I do think he's a good producer, I think he did a horrible fucking job with Blink. I don't like what he did, with it. And I mean, also, blame goes on the band too. The songs just weren't great. But, obviously separately, I think Matt Skiba's a fucking genius. I mean, Alkaline Trio is one of my favorite bands. And, Blink with Tom back in it, very, very excited for it. I'm also one, like, Dogs Eating Dogs, I thought was a solid EP. And I mean, I don't think that's the, going off Edging, I don't think that's the direction they'll take on this. But I just mean, I still think I think Mark, Tom, and Travis, like that lineup, I think still has some good records in them and some good songs. So I'm very happy to see Tom back in Blink. It did seem like it was inevitable. Like I don't know that anyone thought he would never, ever, ever come back. Like, I don't think anyone really knew when he'd be back, but I don't think anyone thought it would be like, permanent. But even with that said, I mean, it's crazy to think of how long. I mean, he was gone like 7 years, I think. Like, I think that first show they did with Skiba was like 2015. So, I mean, there was 7 years without Tom and Blink, but they're back. So I'm all about it. I'm excited for it. And I mean, they should probably do an interview on this show, because I'm sure they'll need help selling albums or tickets. I think a lot of those shows have already sold out too. I mean, they're not having trouble finding interest in this reunion. I think people are pretty excited for it, and I'm definitely one of those people. So very stoked to see that. I was talking about it a little bit earlier too, another piece of music news. But to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Nimrod, Green Day announced a really cool anniversary box set, and it's a 3-disc. I don't know how many LPs it'll be, but you get Nimrod and then a big old CD of Nimrod demos. There's 14 songs on it, and then a live set, Live at the Electric Factory 1997. So I'm looking forward to this. This is probably one I will end up grabbing. Oh, actually, as I pull up the little press release here, as I was talking about the records and vinyl, it's going to be a 5 LP box set. So that's pretty neat. I was gonna say it seemed like it's 3 CDs, but I was gonna say I would assume there's a lot more to the vinyl. But also there's a box set with a CD that includes booklet, a patch, my bad, and a backstage pass. So there's some neat stuff there. But I mean, you can obviously see pictures and everything of it online. But looks like a cool box set. I mean, they did the Insomniac one for the anniversary, but they didn't really. They kind of they really didn't give you like the rarities and stuff like that. That's what I like about this one. On that Insomniac one, you got the they did like a live set or something. I can't remember where, but they played somewhere and it was like from the Insomniac tour. Whereas with this one, I like the fact that you get 14 demos, and you get to, and some of those aren't songs that are actually on the record either. So I mean, some of them are songs that I don't know if these have ever seen the light of day. I mean, maybe the demos leaked onto the internet, years ago and stuff. But I can tell you, looking through there, I've not seen a lot of these. And there's also 2 songs, "You Irritate Me" and "Trey Polka," which were 2 unreleased Green Day songs. And you can hear the "You Irritate Me" they did put out as like I don't know how to call it a single, but they put it out kind of as a celebrate or teaser of Nimrod. So that one is out now to listen to. But I want to talk about this because again, I listened to this record quite a bit on my trip, and it is up there. I think is again one of their. It's funny. Maybe 3 years ago or so, whenever before talking Insomniac on this show with Kyle Steven, I would have said Nimrod I preferred. And Nimrod, I don't know, Dookie for a long time sat as one of my favorites. Nimrod maybe even for a hot minute did. And then Insomniac took that all over. But Nimrod there for a minute, I definitely would have said was my favorite. And some of my favorite Green Day songs are on this record. Uptight is up there. I don't know, that might be like top 3 Green Day songs. It's funny because I think my favorite Green Day songs when I think about them aren't ones that like, I mean, I think they're deep cuts, but like I also don't know that I could sit here and I think that's not true. I probably could sit here and dissect them for hours because we've done it before with songs, but like I don't know the rhyme or reason to a lot of my favorite Green Day songs. I'm just like, that one I really like. Like, I mean, Uptight, there's nothing, like, it's a good song, but even I'm kind of like, I don't know, there's other ones that, I don't know, they do more in the song, or there's just that would like make you really like it. I don't know what makes me like Uptight so much, but I would say that's one of my favorites of theirs. But that whole record, I do like the diversity on it. It does get pretty eclectic at times, but nowadays I would take Insomniac over it. But I mean, still, Nimrod's a great fucking record. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like me talking my favorite Replacements records. Yes, I like some more than others, but I love them all. You know what I mean? There's none that I like hate. And that really, anything Green Day put out in the 90s is kind of that way. Is like, I mean, there's some things I like more than others, but I mean, Green Day really for that entire decade could do no wrong. I mean, at least in my opinion, they really at no point were like fucking up. Anything they put out during that decade is well worth listening to. So I'm excited for that box set. They should do, I mean, they're a band who will play Dookie. Like, I feel like they'll just randomly they'll be playing a show and go, okay, we're playing Dookie front to back tonight. But, they don't do that, I think, so much with, like, the Nimrods, Insomniacs, even, like, Warning and stuff like that. Like, I would love to see them do, like, a tour where they played, like this one, like Nimrod for its 25th. Like, I'd love to see a show where they played this record front to back. I think that would be such a good time, and they play songs off this album, but they play, I feel like, the same handful of songs most of the time live. So, there's so many, like Uptight, like I was just talking about, like, I don't know if they've ever played that one live. Like, there's songs on here I would love to hear them finally play live. That would be so rad. So I'm looking forward to that box set. Definitely excited for that. I will be picking that up. Probably just CD though. I don't know. I don't listen to vinyl as much lately, so I don't know that I can justify. I don't know the price tag, but a 5 LP box set is not going to be super super cheap. The Insomniac one was like $30, but that was like 2 LPs. So 5 LPs, yeah, I don't know. Probably out of my price range. I may stick to CD for this one. All right, one more piece of music news and another box set, but I thought pretty neat. Drive-Thru Records was really teasing there for a while from like through September into October that they had something coming up, And they finally announced for their 26th anniversary, they're doing a EP box set with a few of these being represses and a couple of them being releases that have never been available on vinyl at all. And they kicked it off with the first one, the starting lines with Hopes of Starting Over, which that one has been pressed on vinyl before, but really limited vinyl like a decade ago. So that is up now. They just also opened up a new merch store with that and a bunch of like Drive-Thru Records hats and shirts and like some throwback merch. So you can find that on there on the Drive-Thru Records website now, and it's up for pre-orders. You can find it. They have not announced the other 4 yet, but I'm quite excited for it. I mean, it's kind of fun because they're going to be EPs. So I mean, you got to kind of look back at the EPs that Drive-Thru Records put out through the years, and I mean, everyone's kind of talking, which it seems inevitable, like probably the Movie Life has a gambling problem. I would assume that's going to be one of them. Finch's first EP, Senses Fail's first EP, I would probably say. That gets you to 3. I don't know, it's hard. Maybe Hello Goodbye, the first EP with them. Like at the same time, I forget how many bands truly did have like their first release on Drive-Thru was an EP. Like you honestly forget that. But yeah, I'm trying to think of a couple others. Maybe the Early November for all of this EP. There's a few it could be, but that seems pretty cool. The variants they do show like the splatter colors and stuff, and they look like they're really cool. The box set comes with a couple other things. I don't know everything within it, but it does come with I think maybe like a pin, and it comes with a box set casing and a couple other things. But also, I mean, some neat merch on there. Not like this is like an advertisement for Drive-Thru Records. I just love the label. But yeah, like shirts and hoodies and different shit on you can find all this at drivetrurecords.com. But I'm excited for it. I mean, I feel like every couple years Drive-Thru kind of resurrects and does a couple small things. I mean, I'm kind of surprised they've never gotten back. I'm surprised they've never like revived the label more in an active way. And I don't even mean that so much as having to sign new bands, but I mean even just as a nostalgia label or a legacy label or whatever you want to call it. I'm surprised they don't do more with it, because again, like every couple years they kind of come back out and do a little something here and there and then just kind of disappear again. And I don't know. I would like to see them do more stuff again. I mean, I know the label definitely has its and had its flaws, but I mean, you're not going to hear me say they put out some of the best fucking music. I mean, that is, to this day, Drive-Thru Records is and will probably always be one of my all-time favorite record labels. I mean, they almost everything they put out was just so goddamn good. I mean, they really, that track record was pretty damn impressive, and also huge within, I mean even further than pop punk, but I mean even just punk and pop punk and all that. I mean, they were so many of the best albums from the early 2000s. So many of the defining, the albums that defined the genre, were Drive-Thru Records. I mean, definitely one of those, labels where if you really look at the bands and the releases that were coming out, so much of that stuff from that time, the best stuff, came out on Drive-Thru. Same with a lot of these, like, go look at like When We Were Young Fest and, some of these different, just kind of the nostalgia, festivals or tours or whatever. A lot of those bands were on Drive-Thru, you know what I mean? Like a lot of those bands, their best shit came out on Drive-Thru, and they were, considered Drive-Thru bands for for a long time. I mean, there's bands, I mean, Alistair being one of them. I know I've talked to Alistair on this episode, and I mean, they haven't been on Drive-Thru now in I don't even know how many years. I mean, we're talking probably 15 plus years since they've been on Drive-Thru. And I think myself and most people consider them a Drive-Thru band. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those interesting things. I think there's a lot of record labels where people don't think in that way, where you're not considered a so-and-so band because you released a few, I mean, maybe if you're always on that label, but I mean, again, there's bands still going now who, the label's been defunct for how many years, and they're still considered a drive-through band, even though, I mean, how many, they could be on a million other labels, but they will always be a drive-through band. It's kind of funny how that works. I mean, I don't know how the bands themselves feel about that, but I think it does speak about the just the legacy and impact that drive-through records really did have. So I don't know if I'll grab. I mean, I was just talking about with the Nimrod box set. I'm not listening to a ton of vinyl lately, so I don't know that I'll grab this. But I do know if you're a vinyl collector, I mean, they go fast. Like that starting line when they pressed that like a decade ago, those things went fast, and I believe they sell for quite a bit online. So I mean, probably worth grabbing these now and not waiting too long, because I'm sure they won't last. I don't know the how limited all the pressings will be. But I think they're limited enough where if you want one, you should probably grab one. But yeah, that's a little music news for you. Just a few couple things there that happened in October 2022. Some releases, and hey, Tom is back in Blink, so can't complain. Not all is bad in the world. Some is right in the world again, which makes me happy. But that's gonna be the October 2022 rundown of the Power Chord Hour podcast. And if you would, follow us online. We're at Power Chord Hour on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Email me, powerchordhour@gmail.com. Again, I'd love to hear who you think I should interview on the show, what bands I should be playing on the radio show, all that good stuff. Hit me up. What else? Please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Definitely a big help, and spread the word on the show. The radio show every Friday night, 8 to midnight Eastern on 107.9 WRFA. You can listen from anywhere in the world. Go to WRFALP.com. You'll see the listen button, and you can stream the station from there. In the links here, we got donate buttons. I know I don't have a Patreon or anything like that, but if you'd like to help show costs, and I'm fucking broke after the car accident and going to Alaska, and I mean, the money you send goes into the show, but it helps me not have to, basically put money in my own wallet into show costs. So if you wouldn't mind helping cover show costs, the links will be in the podcast notes or description, and you can donate to the PayPal or Cash App. And I definitely appreciate that. If you got anything to contribute, I appreciate it, but also get it. If you don't, I myself am is broke as shit. So if you're broke as shit too, I totally understand. Totally cool. Just keep enjoying the show. But I'll be back next week with probably Greg Graffin, either Greg Graffin or Black Dahlia. And whichever one we don't have next week, we'll have the following week. So that's pretty damn exciting. Hopefully you're as excited as I am. But until then, for the Power Chord Hour podcast, I'm Anthony Merchant. Thank you so much for listening.